Welcome to Power Up. I'm your host, Gale Jones Carson, the Vice President of Community and External Affairs for Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. The aim of Power Up is to take you, our customers, on an inside tour of MLGW to share our programs and operations with you. And by doing so, we can all better understand how we function as your utility provider. Today's guests are Doug McGowen, who is the President and CEO, and we also have Ann Walk with us today, and she's the Manager of Treasury Management. So we will start with Doug. Thank you, Doug, for being here with us, President McGowen.
Sure, glad to be here, Gale.
Okay, so we just have a whole lot going on with MLGW. You've been here for 7 months now. You started December 2022, and we've just had back-to-back crisis. But before we go into that, one of the things I want to share with our viewing audience is you have a degree in engineering, and now you are the president of the company. How did you get here? What made you major in engineering? What were some of your goals and walks through your profession to get here today?
Sure. Well, I think the background in engineering certainly helps to at least understand how processes and the construction process works. From an early age, starting at the age of 13, I was in the construction business, building houses with a local construction company, and then I did that every summer all the way through high school and all the way through college, and even on holiday breaks. I had a great interest in building things, so I'm a civil engineer. And then I think that's helped me throughout my Navy career to understand how processes work and systems engineering. And it's really no different here at MLGW. We really are a construction and growth company. And so the infrastructure around you is a byproduct of that construction to meet the needs of the community. And that's typically what engineers do, is they construct things or build things to help meet the needs of citizens, customers, wherever they are. So I think it's a natural fit. It's something that I have a great affinity for and a great deal of passion for making things better for people. So I was pleased at the opportunity to come here.
Okay, so you said you focused on civil engineering, and there are other areas of engineering. So, and do we hire at MLGW all areas of engineering?
We do.
We do?
Yes, sure. We have civil engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. We have a number of different varieties, computer engineering specialists. Mm-hmm. So it's not limited to just those, but any kind of engineering background is good. We also have people who are non-engineers who work with us because there's a job for almost every skill set at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. Okay,
so let's talk about your management skills and that you gained along the way with your engineering. Because some engineers and some IT people, they're not interested in managing people. So what got your focus on engineering? I mean, not engineering, but management as well as with your engineering degree.
Sure. So I think it was I spent about 27 years in the United States Navy, and as a byproduct of that, you naturally, as a commissioned officer, are thrust into leadership positions at various levels, starting at the beginning at a low level with a small area of responsibility, and then growing over the course of your career. And so at the end of the day, no matter what your profession is, whether you're a surface warfare officer, aviator, or submariner, you end up 24/7 being a leader of people and plying your trade in that whatever skill you happen to have, a little less than that. But you're always a leader. So I think I come at this from a perspective of it's easier to get results when you get the most out of a team of people, much more than you can do on your own. So I've been pleased to be a part of teams where I've been afforded the opportunity to be in a leadership position and seen what can happen when you set expectations for your team, give them the resources, and see what they can achieve. So that's always an incredible experience, and it's much more rewarding than what you can achieve on your own.
Well, you have a great combination of skills and education and experience, and it has worked out extremely well with you coming to MLGW. And so as you've come here, we had begun an infrastructure improvement plan. We also are working on a tree trimming, which is included in our infrastructure plan. So can you just discuss how we got where we are, and where we're headed?
Sure. So just to give a kind of an overview of where we are, Our system is aged. There has been a lack of systematic investment for a lot of reasons. We always have to balance the rates that people pay, which is where we get the resources to do that, with the value that the system can bring. And for a lot of reasons over decades, there was not sufficient funding to invest and to reinvest in maintaining the infrastructure. That's kind of water under the bridge at this point. We are where we are. So in 2018, a plan was put together called the Way Forward, which was to improve day-to-day reliability. We were underway with that plan. COVID hit and kind of took us off our game because of supply chain and personnel. I arrived here in December of 2022. As you said, we've had a series of storms that have lasted throughout the spring, relatively unprecedented in their severity. So here's the direction that we're going to go now. First, because we've had this series of storms, we know that our system has suffered some damage. We have corrected most of that in the course of restoring power, but we know that there are some things likely in the system that are broken that we just don't know about because they didn't cause an outage, but they make the system more susceptible. So the first step is we'll do a baseline assessment to make sure we know what is in the system that needs to be repaired. The second step we'll take is what I'm calling a reliability and resilience program. That will be a 5-year program, and we'll update it each and every year. So we will execute the remaining parts of the Way Forward plan, which is a day-to-day reliability. We will add some things in from that baseline assessment that were not considered because they're new things that are broken. We will take every maintenance action that we know exists today that we may have been waiting and deferring because we didn't have the funding. We'll put that in the plan. And then we'll also do some things like you mentioned, aggressive vegetation management, tree trimming, and we'll put some resilience efforts back into the system as well. Some things that will make us more resilient to storms, not just day-to-day reliability, but improve our ability to withstand severe weather. That's the reliability and resilience plan. There's a lot of detail there, but that's the next step.
So what kind of time frame are we talking about? I mean, the trees, as you have mentioned many times, are cause about 40% of our outages. And so people are now really, really focused on trees.
Yes, they are.
They used to criticize me because I would say, well, I know we love our trees, but they cause us problems. So now they see that trees cause us a lot of outages.
Well, many people know that we issued some contracts. We'll be signing those contracts now that City Council has given us the authorization to spend the funding that was already allocated within the budget for this.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. President, because some people thought we were going to City Council asking for new dollars.
This is not new dollars. This is funding that is within MLGW today. So we're going to execute dollars that we already had in the budget that we were just allocating to tree trimming. That has been completely approved now as of yesterday, and so we're working with the vendors on a start date. They'll begin aggressively doing that vegetation management all across the service area so we can get back on a 3-year cycle.
So is there any particular, how are you going to choose which areas you start in? Because people get what they want to know when you come into my area.
We will start in the areas that need it the most. So through some technology and through some of our partnerships that we have using drones and some satellites, some other technology, we know and using GIS, which is geographic information with where our infrastructure is, we can pinpoint the areas where the tree canopy is the most overlapping with our infrastructure, and we'll start there first. So we'll assign, we'll break up the contractors in 3 areas of the cities, and then we'll focus their efforts on the areas that are most critical, the areas that need it most, the most outages attributed to trees. So that's back to the first question you had. So we'll do the baseline assessment. We'll do that 5-year reliability and resilience plan, and that will be an ongoing, every year it'll be a 5-year plan we'll be executing. The third step is we're moving to a smart grid. And what a smart grid is essentially you're putting technology and equipment into the system that can sense and react to changes in the system. So if there's a high demand, it can move that electric demand around the system. If there's an outage, it can automatically reroute things. It can do a number of things, and it will prepare us for the future for when we have battery storage in our system that we can dispatch, and we can use that to what we call shave the peak. Like in the evenings in the summer, the load gets very high. Well, instead of just asking for more energy, we can dispatch the battery. And the idea is that we would have charged that battery with energy at a lower cost.
Okay.
So that's step 2, or step 3 is a smart grid. And then step 4 is MLGW 2045. This is our forward-looking view. Most successful organizations have a long-range plan. This will become ours. I want to be clear. It's not going to tell us where every substation, what the new water system is going to look like or anything else, but it will give us the opportunity to look at what do we think the challenges of the future are, what are those opportunities, and then what things do I need to be doing now to be prepared for the future, and then each year, every 5 years, what are those things that I have to look for so I know that I'm examining the conditions on the ground, making the right decisions so that when we arrive in 2045, we've taken advantage of every opportunity. We've prepared our system for the challenges of the future, and we're ready to respond. So that's really what that is. I think it's a kind of a comprehensive approach to relooking at our infrastructure here so that we have the utility that can meet the challenges of tomorrow while delivering services today.
Well, I think it's a great plan. I'm thankful that we're headed in that direction. I think that the more our customers listen to where we are and where we're headed, that they'll have more confidence in where we're headed, and that we will be able to provide them the reliable service that they deserve.
Sure do.
But one of the issues that continues to come up, Doug, is underground versus overhead
Sure.
transmission lines.
Well, that's a really good question, and it's a reasonable one to ask. And we're willing to have the conversation about doing more. Just so everybody understands, about 40% of our infrastructure is underground today. 60% is overhead. All of the underground infrastructure is fed at some point from overhead infrastructure when it comes from the transmission out through the substations. In our plan, there is some selective undergrounding for those key nodes that are susceptible, and we can put that underground. At the end of the day, it's a cost issue on what people are willing to pay for to have that extra protection. We know today if we were to underground all of the utility infrastructure, everybody would pay 2.5 times what they pay today on their electric bill just to be able to afford that.
2.5 times more.
So yes, if your electric bill's $200 a month, you would be paying $500 a month forever, just to afford to put it underground and then to be able to maintain it. We can do something less than that. We could do the key corridors, and that would still be about $3 billion, but your bill would be about 75% higher. And so most folks are willing to pay for more reliability, but maybe not that much. There are some other things, like I mentioned, that we can do to make the system more reliable. So we're balancing the cost of making it more reliable with the reliability that we have to put into place. And we're focused on that every day. And you can be sure that if it's cost effective and affordable to put some things underground, we will do that. And where it's not cost effective and affordable, we will look for other alternatives that increase reliability without that increase in cost.
Well, Doug, I have listened to some people who have had underground for many years. They've had underground since we first got underground.
Sure.
And so they are complaining that they too have outages just like everybody else.
They do. Underground is more resistant to wind and windstorms and the like, but it's not foolproof. Underground cable does degrade. Underground cable can have faults. Underground cable can be impacted by the elements as well. And so it's just more costly to repair it when it's underground. A, to find where the break is, and B, to ultimately repair it. So it does cost a little more. People that are complaining, I have underground infrastructure and I have outages, that's what's happening. The system does degrade over time, just like everything else does, and has to be repaired or replaced from time to time.
So Doug, as we come to a close on this, what information, or what would you like to share with our audience about our future?
It's a bright future. I said before during the height of the storms, please don't lose hope. We have not been able to catch our breath this spring, but we do have the resources in hand to get a really good start on this infrastructure improvement. As I said, you begin to see tree trimming in earnest. Our pole replacement plan is ahead of schedule. Some of the infrastructure replacement is ahead of schedule, and we're going to not stop until we have all of it done. And we're not going to let ourselves get back into a situation where we are underfunding our routine maintenance. Kind of like your car, you can skip a few oil changes and you won't really feel any difference, but down the road is when you'll start to see some trouble, and we don't want to get to that point again.
Well, I'm just grateful and thankful that we are on top of the situation. We know what the situation is. We got the money in the bank with the rate increase, and that we are going to be spending those dollars to harden our system and have a more reliable system for our customers. So,
Sure are.
thank you, Doug.
How prepared you are for a power outage is the difference between a stressful situation and a minor inconvenience. Make an emergency plan. Pack a kit with first aid supplies, bottled water, and a flashlight, and stay informed using the MLGW outage map on your laptop or mobile device. To report a power outage, gas leak, or downed line, just give us a call. Be prepared and stay connected by using the MLGW app and follow us on social media. A little prep goes a long way. MLGW, serving you is what we do.
Welcome back to Power Up. My guest this segment is Ann Walk, who's the manager of Treasury Management at MLGW. Welcome, Ann, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Gale.
Okay, so Ann, so you basically head up Treasury Management at MLGW.
Yes.
What is Treasury Management?
Well, Treasury Management, our function is to manage the daily cash flow for the division. So we're managing the financial resources. We make sure that there's funds available to cover the financial obligations and funds available for capital improvements, projects that may be coming up, and also handling large disbursements.
So when you say capital improvements, you mean like building, you mean like transformers, you mean like
Yeah, any of the infrastructure, like the 5-year plan included infrastructure improvements, and we are part of the team that issued bonds in 2020 in order to cover those projects, to finance those projects.
So it's like, are you like a bank and people write checks for what they need, but you make sure that it's enough money in the bank to cover the checks that are being used for withdrawals?
Yeah, in a way. So we have quite a few vendors that we're responsible for paying, small vendors, local businesses, all the way up to gas suppliers and TVA. So those funds to cover those disbursements are managed by my department, and we disperse funds to the larger vendors such as TVA and the gas suppliers. We handle that function in-house with our Treasury Management Department. A lot of the other smaller items are issued via check, but we make sure funds are available to cover those disbursements.
As well. Okay, so what areas are under you? What kind of professionals work in that area?
Most of my staff have accounting backgrounds, so I have, it's a small staff. It's a small team doing a lot, so there are just 4 analysts in the area, but 2 of them have accounting backgrounds and 2 have finance backgrounds. And
So what are their degrees in?
3 of my staff do have MBAs.
Okay.
2 have concentrations in finance, 1 a concentration in accounting. And the other individual has a bachelor's degree with a concentration in finance.
Okay, so Ann, tell me, what is a normal day for you?
Well, a normal day for Treasury, so we do handle investments in-house. So the collections that are gathered by the community offices, the collections from the customers.
Yeah, we collect a lot of cash every day.
We collect a lot of cash.
Because we have a lot of customers who pay in cash.
Yes, yeah, we collect a lot of cash. So all of the bill payments that we receive, those funds are then invested so that they can be applied to MLGW's bills. We have obligations each month that we're responsible for paying to keep our lights on, so to speak. So our priority is to invest those funds in safe investment vehicles, and with preservation of principal being a priority, and we invest those out to the date those payables are going to be due. And so we're covering, as I stated, gas suppliers, TVA, sales tax for the water, just various obligations that MLGW is responsible for.
So tell us how Well, first of all, what school did you go to? What did you major in, and how did you end up in this profession?
Well, I received my undergraduate degree from UT Knoxville, and my major then was general business.
General business.
Yes.
Okay.
After I graduated, I did work for a bank that kind of piqued my interest in finance.
Oh, okay.
I worked in the paying agent division of a local bank where we were responsible for paying the principal and interest payments on municipal bonds. So I saw a lot of light gas and water bonds back then. So it's interesting that I ended up working for light gas and water. So that piqued my interest, and then I decided to go back to school and attended Christian Brothers and received my MBA with a concentration in finance.
So does an MBA? So is an MBA required? Is it necessary? Does it help you better in the finance world that you're in?
I think it really helps. It really exposes you to a deeper level of finance and understanding the various types of securities that are available for purchase and investing. It gives you a broader view of the world. But if you were able to get job experience in finance in some way, that would also be helpful.
Okay, so when you say in finance, is that like in an accounting department? Is that in an internal audit department?
Well, I'll use my experience as an example. So I worked in the paying agent division for a bank. Then I also went on to work in their brokerage area, which exposed me to the buying and selling of securities.
Oh, okay.
And then I worked in their product development area. And at that time, they had their own proprietary mutual funds. So it's kind of a unique exposure, and all of those things prepared me to be able to work in Treasury Management with Memphis Light Gas and Water. So it was a kind of a unique background to give me those tools that were helpful in growing and learning in the role when I first started.
So how long have you been with Memphis Light Gas and Water?
It's now 22 years. It'll be 23 in
Wow.
October.
23 years, wow. So you basically prepared yourself with not only the education but experience to handle all of these dollars at MLGW, to do the investments, to do. So when you are making investments, how do you determine what is a good investment for MLGW?
Well, we do have an investment policy that we are required to follow. It's based on guidelines that the state provided, but within those, the main objective is to purchase high quality instruments. So we look for a credit rating of AA or better. So we utilize S&P and Moody's credit ratings to determine if it meets our criteria. So we're looking for quality names, something that we can make sure we meet our first objective, which is preservation of principal. So that's our priority, is safety in finding instruments that can give us a good return, but not with a lot of risk.
So what is our rating at MLGW, our bond rating?
Our bond ratings for the electric, it's single A with S&P. With gas, it's AA, and with the water division, it's AAA.
Okay, so the higher our bond rating is, the lower the interest rate is when we need to borrow money?
Yes, when we go out to issue bonds, that gives us a better rating in the market.
So what keeps our ratings good?
I think the management of the cash, the just overall management in the finance area, and the stability. We've maintained low rates for quite a while, but we are a well-known established firm, one of the only three service utilities in the country, but we have a great track record of great management. So I would think the top level people have managed things well, and we're respected in the industry.
Okay, so when you say that we have, is it the top level management at MLGW, or is it outside firms that help us make these decisions?
Well, we do work with outside firms, outside professionals assist us in the process of issuing debt. So we go through a process of getting underwriters and legal counsel, financial advisors that all assist. So it's a team effort, and with the all of the finance team, all of the departments that fall under the umbrella of finance are involved in that process.
So Ann, how exciting is your job?
I really enjoy it. I think it's very interesting. I learn something every day, or it's an ongoing learning process, and I just find it really interesting because what happens with the markets, will impact items we can invest in. It'll impact on availability of certain securities. So I just find it very interesting to see what's going on with the markets and following that.
So this past weekend, at the behest of my granddaughter, she wanted to go see Barbie. So while I was watching Barbie, I had no idea that over all of these years they had women and girls in all these different professions. So you are our Barbie. You're one of our Barbies. Yeah, you
Finance Barbie.
Yeah, finance Barbie. Yeah, I don't remember. I think there's over 200. The lady was saying, and I don't remember seeing a finance Barbie. So you are MLGW's finance Barbie.
Oh, that's very kind.
So what would you tell young ladies, or I guess young men as well, if you want to work in the Treasury Department, or if you want to work in an area that deals with finance, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
I think when most people think of finance, they think of the larger firms in New York and in some of the larger centers, but there are opportunities with local firms, with local banks, and with municipalities, local government. There are opportunities in finance. And if it's of interest to you, I think it's a really rewarding career. I think you can always grow and learn. And if you're a curious person, I think curiosity is a real important part of it, to succeed in it. I just think it's very interesting, and I know not everyone gets excited about it like I do, but I think it can be a really rewarding career, and the benefits are outside of the job also. You can apply it to your personal life, how you manage your money personally, and investments you choose for yourself personally. The information can be applied to those also.
Well, and I just want you to know, once I learned about all that you do and all that you are responsible for, I have a greater level of respect for you and your work, and I dub you MLGW's Finance Barbie. Thank you for being on our show today.
Thank you so much, Gale.
MLGW strives to be a good corporate neighbor, and one of the ways we do that is by giving back to our community. MLGW held its first Utility and Line Worker Summer Boot Camp for high school students graduation on June 22nd. 21 juniors and seniors from Whitehaven High School have spent 3 weeks in June in the classroom learning fundamentals of utility and safety, along with hands-on activities to gain valuable industry knowledge. Thank you for allowing us to share with you some of the ways that we are giving back to our community.